This video will be demonstrating the RFQ flow, also known as buyer-created items. This flow allows a buyer to submit a request for an item to be created, which sellers can then respond to by proposing their prices and other requirements. Buyers are then able to view responses and choose to accept them accordingly. The first step in this flow is for the buyer to log into the buyer portal and create an RFQ item. As you can see now, I am logged in as a buyer within an Arcadier marketplace, and you can see up top a link that was created with the RFQ plugin that allows me as a buyer to create an RFQ item. By clicking on the link, a form opens that details the different information that a seller would need to know about the RFQ item. For purposes of demonstration, there are only 3 fields, but more of these input fields can be added as necessary. Now I will create a generic item by inputting sample information. By clicking Submit, all these details will be saved inside a database which will be used later by the seller in the seller portal. These are all the steps that a buyer would need to complete in order to create an RFQ listing. Now, we will go to the seller portal. On this incognito window, I have a seller logged in. Within the seller's account, you can see that there is a different link on their page created by the plugin that allows the seller to see all the RFQs created by all the buyers on the marketplace. Here, the seller can choose to submit a quotation for this RFQ item by clicking the button. A form then opens up with details that the seller is required to fill in order for the quotation flow to be completed. In this example, there are only 2 fields, but more can be added as necessary. Once filled out, the seller then clicks on Send Quotation, which will submit and save the seller's submitted information to a custom database. Now, the next step within the RFQ flow is for the buyer to log in and see any quotations submitted by sellers to their RFQ. As you can see, I'm going back to the buyer portal, and here you can see another link that was created by the plugin, which is to view proposals from sellers. As you can see, the RFQ quotation we just submitted from the seller account appears on this page. From here, the buyer can choose to accept this proposal and start the Arcadier quotation flow. Now, you may be wondering what happens if a second seller submits another proposal for the same RFQ. That can be done as well. I will now log in as a different seller. I'll be using the Marketplace Administrator dashboard to do this. As you can see, I am now logged in as seller 2, which is different from the first seller. I will follow the same process and view RFQs and see all the same RFQs created by buyers and choose to submit a quote for the same RFQ as before. I will be directed to the same form again, complete it, and send the quotation just as before, which will be saved to the same custom database. Now, I will go back to the same buyer portal as before and view the proposals again. As the buyer, I can see seller 2's proposal here. And now, as the buyer, I had the choice to choose between the 2 proposals and accept accordingly. This concludes the example of how you can use the SDK for PHP to create a request for quotation plugin.